Our story begins with a showing of a convenience store called GX24. A boy with black hair was sitting on his brand new iPhone and thought that his girlfriend was coming soon. And finally she came. This lady was the only reason why he still works in this store. He still cannot forget the aura that emanated from her when they met for the first time a month ago. In addition, there was one pattern. The girl always came to this store and bought a certain set of drinks. Because the lady drank too many energy drinks, the main character decided to call her the goddess of vivacity. In this store, there was just a terrible boss who told the guy to sell the goods even if it was spoiled, and there were also customers who constantly drank a lot of drinks and tried to rent a room to spend the night thinking that it was a motel. Because of such a terrible situation, the boy was constantly thinking about how to quickly leave here, because it was simply impossible to bear it. But our main character simply endured all this in order to meet the goddess of vigor again. At first, he liked the way the girl looked. But now he understands perfectly well that he has fallen in love with her and will never again be able to meet such a wonderful person like her. The main character always wanted to know the reason why the girl drinks so many drinks, but he never asked because this is a question that goes beyond personal boundaries, so he simply silently ordered the product on sale. While the lady was taking out her wallet from her bag, he thought that it didn't look like she was drinking drinks because she had some kind of grief. But then what was the reason? It doesn't matter to him, because it's precisely thanks to the fact that she comes here to buy energy drinks that our main character can see her every day at this very moment. Suddenly, the lady decided to start a conversation and offered to drink energy with her. But the boy did not understand why she so suddenly decided to start a conversation. The girl thought that the main character was too tired at work, and this drink helped recharge his energy, so she offered to drink it with her. It was as if she was advertising the drink, saying that it had little caffeine and an incredible fruity taste, but the guy refused, saying that it was her purchase. But it didn't matter to her, because the girl received the second product on sale for free, and it would help the boy freshen up. But then she covered her mouth with her hand, saying that her habit from work had worked. The main character is surprised that the girl has been talking to him for several minutes, because he has been playing CSGO all his life. But still he could not just accept her gift. In the end, she simply puts the can in his hand, telling him to be sure to drink it all, and our hero makes a complete idiot face and says that he will do it. After which the girl leaves and the boy remains with the energy drink, it is immediately clear that his mood has risen. The person will not give the goods, even if she got it for free, which means that the guy was able to interest the girl. After which she leans the jar to her face, thinking that he is truly happy because the 100 million he invested in were not wasted. After which we are shown an inscription on his jacket, on which the name of the store was written, and the fact that the main character is the owner of this store. After this, the actions are transferred to a few days ago, and we are shown some bald guy who was dissatisfied with something. He had a reason to be so angry, because our main character stood in front of him with a contract. It was written in it that he managed to buy this store for himself. But the bald man simply couldn't understand why the hell he could do it. How could a half-time worker get such huge money? And then the boy begins to reason, thinking that a person is given 3 chances in life. One of these chances is given in the form of great power, and thus he managed to win the lottery. In addition to everything, it was a real jackpot that had been accumulating for a whole month, and there were many people who wanted to take the money for themselves. But our boy was lucky. The main character didn't even think much about it, and immediately paid this money for the store and for the building, because this guy managed to win as much as 10 billion, and he could afford it. Like a real Mr. Beast. Previously, the guy was only thinking about how to quickly meet the goddess of vigor, but now he had a real goal of taking revenge on his boss, after which he tells him that the stupid and not problematic Song Tae-hyung does not need to know the answer. In response, this damn old man simply starts yelling at him, saying that the main character should be grateful to him for not firing him earlier, but the guy was unperturbed. It turns out that this bald idiot forced him to work for 12 hours, and at the same time our boy did not even receive the minimum wage. He should have contacted the relevant authorities. But the fat man says that he could not pay him because he himself did not earn much. Does he really think that money grows on trees? Suddenly he simply snatches the contract from the boy and tells the main character not to waste money like that. He just says that this store caused nothing but problems, so let the guy not expect to sell it back. Then he throws the papers on the floor and wish him good luck in his torment with the store. But on the last guy with black hair decides to annoy him and says, "Thank you for such support. Just don't let him be jealous when this place starts bringing in huge amounts of money." But the old man is sure that the day when he will regret it will never come, after which he leaves the store and accidentally spits on some lady. He's still a strange guy. And our boy just looked after him, saying in his thoughts that the day would come when he would make him regret these words. After which the actions return back to reality, where our hero stood at the cash register and remembered the girl who gave him the energy drink. He remembered that the girl touched his hand with her hand, and the main character decided that today he would definitely not wash this hand. Suddenly, a girl with pink hair enters the store, and it seems that she is terribly wet in the rain. The boy asks her to quickly go inside. She thought it was very stupid to rely on the weather forecast, and vows never to trust them again. While the main character looked at the girl in surprise, she thought that she would definitely not leave the store in the near future. Suddenly, these two start pointing fingers at each other. The main character's name is Yang Hyuk, and the girl with pink hair is Elle and Ha-young. It turns out that they know each other. It turns out that during high school they were good friends, but after the main character joined the army and dropped out of school, he completely lost all communication with her. The boy gave her a towel to dry her hair and drink soda, but she was simply shocked that the main character returned from the army and didn't even tell her Nuna anything about it. The girl starts asking about his difficult fate, but the guy says that he works in this store 12 hours a day. At this rate, he could die. But for some strange reason, the main character decided not to talk about the fact that he is the owner of this store, but I just can't understand why. The guy decides to ask her a little about her life. According to his calculations, she should have finished studying very soon, but she suddenly says that she dropped out. But Yang Hyuk doesn't understand the reason why the lady did this, because her biggest dream has always been to become a teacher. But she asked for this dream after assessing the situation. There are quite a few students in our time, and the wages are simply terrible and are not enough for anything. In addition, Elle and Ha-young have already managed to find a new activity that she likes much more. The main character was very interested in the dream of his Nuna. After which she hands him a business card and promises that she will give him a discount out of old friendship. It turns out that the lady has opened her own beauty salon. She promised to do quality work on her hair, saying that she will give him the best hairstyle of their life. The main character tried to explain to her that guys usually don't think about their hairstyles, but she calls him a real idiot, saying that they live in the modern world, and any guy would want his hair to be neat. For example, even if you take the boy himself, he certainly looked good, but his eyebrows were terribly sloppy. Also, his mustache grew as if he was still in high school. In short, it was because of these little things that the main character still did not have relationships with girls. The boy thinks that the girl acted very rudely when she said that he didn't have a girlfriend, but she knew this 100%, but still asks, of course, that the main character was desperate and said that he was not in a relationship. Suddenly, Yang Hyuk decides to ask the girl for advice if she can cope with his terrible appearance, but she did not understand such a sharp question. After which the boy points to his terrible eyebrows. The girl with pink hair asks him not to worry, because during her career she has corrected too many terrible people and will definitely be able to cope with him. The main character asks her not to be so sure because his eyebrows are a real problem. It seemed like there was a monster living there. But she just says that most guys who talk so much about their eyebrows cannot back up their words with action. Probably he is the same. The girl only asks the boy to come to her, and then she will help him get rid of his problem. But he asks not to worry so much about him because he has constantly asked for his phone number. But suddenly Elle and Ha-young notices a can of energy drink on the table. The lady takes the drink from him and is about to leave, but he begins to get angry with the mad monkey and asks to put it back on the table. The girl left taking the energy drink with her, and at this point the main character swears that he will tear out all her hair the next time they meet. After which we are shown a boy who was heading with a piece of cake to his neighbors, hoping that they were at home. Ringing the bell, a female voice wanted to know who had come to her, and the guy tried to explain that he was their neighbor. He had just moved and would like to treat her to a rice cake. Treating new neighbors is an old Korean tradition. Suddenly we see that the chain on the door breaks and the door opens, after which a girl with eyes like Satoru's opens the door for us. Gojo, but we know very well that this is the same queen of cheerfulness that the main character likes. The moments when she came to his store fly through his head, and he could not believe that luck had made it so that they would now be neighbors. It turns out that the girl also found out that the boy works in a convenience store and was surprised to see him here. Now the main character had absolutely no regrets that he spent the money he won on a store and an apartment, because now the girl he likes will live next door for a long time. But it seemed to him that there was something strange. Perhaps today the girl simply did not drink drinks, but her face looked somehow different. The main character still remembers that he came here to give away the rice cake and asks the girl to try it because it is very tasty. But suddenly it turns out that the girl's hands were wet and she could not hold the pie, so it falls to the ground and crumbles into many small pieces. The goddess of vigor never opened the door for him, so the main character tries to somehow help her collect the trash, asking forgiveness for the fact that he littered her house. She asks the guy not to worry because these are just crumbs from the pie, but suddenly the unexpected happens and the boy has a view of the mountains. Of course, it was just terrible and the girl begins to cry, not understanding what to do next. Suddenly, A terrible scream is heard throughout the whole house. The main character understands perfectly well that he needs to leave as soon as possible, but for some reason, he was still here. Realizing that the guy is still here, she decides to quickly close the door. But it seems the guy's hand remained in the doorway and she broke a couple of his fingers. Realizing what she had done, she tried to apologize, but the boy was already thinking where to look for a new hand, because this one hurt terribly. The goddess of vigor immediately covered her face with her hands because she was terribly ashamed of hitting the guy with the door. In the next frame, we are already shown that the rice threshold was collected from the floor, and the main character could not imagine that everything would turn out like this. His hand just hurt terribly, but still he was glad that he was in this house. Let me remind you that he is a professional Dota 2 player, and he never talked to girls. The main character had heard that beautiful girls had a real mess at home, but it seems that it was just a legend because the girl's apartment was perfectly clean. He looked around carefully and noticed her collection. He had never seen anyone collecting empty drink bottles and was surprised at such a strange hobby. A moment appears in his memory when she shared an energy drink with him, and he realized that she constantly bought them for constantly drinking a lot of drinks. Lady with eyes like Satoru's Gojo returns with a medical kit and asks what the boy said while she was out of the room. Holding his hand, the guy says that he sat in silence, but the pain in his hand was simply hellish, and he did not know how to endure it any longer. She once again asks for forgiveness from the main character. The girl was just terribly scared and didn't even notice how she pinched the guy's hand in the door. The guy with black hair decides to turn on real man mode and tries to calm the girl down by saying that his hand doesn't hurt at all. But as soon as he lifts it, his hand begins to hurt even more and he screams like crazy from terrible pain, of course, that now the goddess of vigor feels even more guilty for this. At one point, she even thinks that the boy might have broken bones and asks him to definitely go to the hospital for help. But Yang Hyuk asks her not to worry so much because his bones are normal. Painkillers and a couple of patches are enough to make him feel better. The main character wants to ask her forgiveness because it was because of him that this whole situation happened, but she takes all the blame upon herself because it was the goddess of vigor who dropped the rice cake that he brought. A plaster from her medical kit that will help relieve pain, and asks him to give her his hand. The main character thought that he could take care of it himself, but the girl was too persistent. She said that if the pain intensified, he would definitely have to go to the hospital. And Yang Hyuk thought that the lady was incredibly kind and sweet. She definitely deserves the status of a goddess. He was simply incredibly happy that the girl constantly came to his store and could not believe that now they would be neighbors. While the main character thought that it was fate that tried to ensure that they were together, the girl had already finished attaching the bandage. She instantly pulls the guy out of his thoughts, and he makes a confident smile and says that everything is fine. But then he realizes that he is starting to say nonsense and tries to justify himself by saying that he is just fine with the painkiller patch. Suddenly, he points to her collection and asks how long it took her to collect them. Even though the bottles were empty, they looked beautiful on the shelves. But the girl simply smiles and says that this is a small habit that is related to her work, but the main character is surprised by this. In this case, the boy decides to ask who the girl works, but she went to her wallet to bring him a business card. And she begins to say that due to the fact that she often sees various drinks at her work, it is not surprising that she has developed an interest in drinks in everyday life. She gave the business card to the main character. It turns out that she worked in the sales department, but our boy was much more interested in her name, Min So-hee. This lady even had a beautiful name. But the worst thing for her was that she completely forgot those days when she drank drinks. It is for this reason that the girl began collecting different bottles in order to better remember the days on which she drank drinks. Suddenly, she wondered if our main character tried the drink that she left for him in the store, and also this face, as now he will say that his old friend took the drink. As expected, the guy had a very confused face because he had completely forgotten that the girl had given him the can of drink. At this moment, he remembers his girlfriend Elle and Hayoung and thinks that the next time they meet, he will simply finish her off. It turns out that the girl's company is producing this drink. It simply helps get rid of fatigue and can help students or people who work part-time. But for some reason, the lady thought that the main character didn't like her drink at all, of course. She immediately looks for an excuse and says that, on the contrary, he liked it. Yang Hyuk thinks that the girl will be terribly upset when she finds out that someone else drank the drink she gave her, so he reveals that he actually drinks energy drinks all the time after he is terribly tired at work, which makes Min So-hee very happy. She looked at him with enthusiasm while the main character read her business card. He thought it was just great that the girl worked there. Now he hypothesizes that the girl drinks so many energy drinks due to the fact that her work is related to drinks. The girl still works in the sales department and is often involved in tasting. But she just smiles at him and says that she simply has no other choice. She has to drink drinks periodically because of her job in the sales department. But she asks the main character not to worry, because after that she drinks an energy drink that helps her cope with her work. But he is surprised that when she smiles, she becomes even more beautiful than before. Suddenly the boy still remembers the time and, looking at his phone, realizes that he urgently needs to run. He asks her for forgiveness, but he needs to leave because at exactly 10 o'clock new goods are brought to the store. But she was shocked that the main character works even on weekends. Young Hyuk once again asks her for forgiveness for causing so many problems, but she says that she is to blame for what happened and asks that the main character definitely go to the hospital if his hand starts to hurt more. But he also asks her not to worry, because she put a plaster on him that relieves pain, so everything will be fine. Some kind of card fell out of the guy's pocket, and the girl, noticing this, asked him to stay a little longer. He remembers that this is the business card that Ha-young gave him, and thanks that Min So-hee saw that he dropped it. But still, she decided to ask the question whether the main character really goes to the beauty salon. Of course, the main character finds himself in an awkward situation, and he decides to say that in fact his friend gave him this card. But Min So-hee asks him not to deceive her, because there is nothing wrong with the main character taking care of his face. Many guys do this now, but Young Hyuk doesn't understand because his girlfriend said the same words. She also adds that when a man takes care of his face, girls really like it, but he was shocked when he discovered new knowledge. And yet, after the words of the goddess of sobriety about the beauty salon, he began to think that the time had come when men should also take care of their faces. Perhaps the girl simply didn't like scary people, but she was always pleased to see how guys take care of the cleanliness of their faces. But it was immediately clear that it was strange for the main character to discuss the topic of beauty with guys. He was used to completely different concepts. Still, this is why Min So-hee thinks it's just great that the guy goes to a beauty salon and takes care of his face. After this, the actions are transferred to the boy who was lying on the bed and at the same time hugging his soft panda toy. It seems that his world has just completely turned upside down. The panda suffers from his excessive emotionality, but Young Hyuk now understands perfectly well that the girl likes those guys who take care of their faces. For the sake of such a beautiful girl like her, the main character decides to take a decisive step and still go to Ha-young to ask for advice on caring for himself, after which she still returns to the office and asks what he wanted to ask her about. His Nuna is completely sure that such an idiot as our main character would never do such a thing, so what made him take such drastic measures? But he's just trying to find an excuse because she herself told him that neat guys are in fashion now, and Elle and Ha-young also asked him to come. Well, here he is. While the boy continued to hug the soft toy, the lady warns him that people continue to come to her for procedures after they come for the first time. Is he ready to take such a step? The guy just gets funny from her words, but she continues to say that she has simply divine hands that can turn any monkey into a model from the cover of Forbes. She asks the guy not to move during the procedure, and he completely relaxes and trusts her with the future of his face. After the procedure began, the girl realized that everything was not as simple as she thought, because she had never seen such a large amount of work that she had to do. While she was thinking that this was just an amazing work experience, our main character suddenly rises from his bed and asks what surprised her so much. The lady with pink hair just made excuses, but Young Hyun felt funny that after so much time without them communicating, he was lying in her office while she put his face in order. This is great, of course, but only the main character acted as if he would never agree to such a procedure, and now she was wondering what actually made him agree to such a procedure. But the guy again looks for an excuse, saying that everyone around is talking about how guys should take care of their beauty, and his girlfriend just opened her own beauty salon. It turns out that fate itself brought him here. The lady with pink hair understood perfectly well that the main character was just pretending to be so pretty. In fact, she has many clients who made appointments with her, in which case Young Hyuk wants to leave and return when she has free time. But she hits him with Saitama's strongest blow and tells him not to dare move because she has already prepared everything to make him a super mega handsome man. Lee Ha-young mixes a special wax mixture in a jar and warns him that it will be very painful, but he will have to be patient for the result. He thinks that if it hurts, he will never come to her procedures again, but she asks him to calm down because when he sees the result, he will definitely tell her the opposite. No matter how much the girl advertises her salon, the boy will never buy a subscription here, but she says that this is not a marketing ploy. But the only thing was that the lady still couldn't figure out what the hell was happening to the main character. Harshi had different clients, but this was the first time she met a guy with such problems, even difficult to cope with. She even remembers Young's words. Hyuna said that he had incredible problems, but then the girl said that she could cope with them. Now she understands perfectly well that the main character did not deceive her. Few guys tell the truth when it comes to their problems. Suddenly, she decides to return to the real world, thinking that she needs to discard all unnecessary thoughts and make Brad Pitt out of him as soon as possible. Lee Ha-young applies a special paste and warns that after she removes it, the main character may feel an unpleasant sensation. If it hurts, he should tell her. But still, she couldn't concentrate properly on her work because the problem was terribly big, but still she tries not to be distracted. Meanwhile, our main character lay on the table, as if undergoing an operation, and thought that now the safety of his life was completely in the hands of this lady. Our boy read on the internet that immediately after starting the procedure, he would feel terrible pain, but he was sure that he was a real gigachad and would be able to endure it. He had never been so mistaken. Moreover, the girl makes the procedure terribly painful, which adds even more painful effect. He was gradually losing his mind and was worried that his girlfriend would think that he was a real coward who could not endure the simplest facial cleansing procedure. But the boy still tried to calm himself down by saying that the girl was a real professional in her field, and in one day she had many clients who were satisfied with the result. But for our boy, this was not normal, because he is a man who had never been to self-care procedures, so he was terribly scared. Bae Young-hyun tried to understand what the hell was going on here. The girl asked this idiot to calm down because he was behaving worse than a woman. But suddenly the lady makes one careless movement and touches an area of the face that should not have been touched, asks for forgiveness and says that she will fix everything immediately. But even Elle and Ha-young were worried that she would do something wrong. Despite the fact that she has several patients a day, the girl was afraid that it was her friend who would have some problems. The main character tries to calm her down by saying that he saw a lot of reviews on the internet that this was just a terribly painful procedure, but it didn't hurt him at all. He even thought that his friend was doing something wrong. But she tells him that others use wax in their procedures. It's just terribly painful, and the person even begins to bleed cherry juice after the procedure. But she uses a special paste that does not leave pain or an unpleasant effect. The main character was simply shocked that the girl knew so much, but she asks this idiot to shut up because she cannot properly concentrate on her work. But Elle and Ha-young couldn't understand the reason why she was so worried, because she always calmly performed procedures on other clients, and now she was afraid of hurting her old friend. The lady asked the guy not to move because now it would hurt a little, but as soon as she started removing the paste, the guy started screaming like crazy. He asks her for forgiveness. But as soon as she started, just a terrible pain immediately began. For a moment, the lady thought about the fact that he was in pain. Although this was the most painless procedure she had, did he really have such a low pain threshold? Still, she didn't understand why she was so worried. Maybe it was because she hadn't had friends like him for a long time, and she didn't want to hurt him. But Madam puts her thoughts aside and wants to get back to work. The girl asks him to sit quietly for a while because she will need to bring a special ointment that will soothe his skin, but judging by the look of our boy, he felt terribly bad, while he denied that he was in pain during the procedure. The main character asked her not to delay the procedure, so she would simply apply the ointment to his face, after which he could go home. But suddenly something terrible happens. Someone grabbed the trigger and scared the guy until he lost his pulse. Judging by his face, he no longer liked being in this office because now he was scared, as if he was undergoing an operation. But the main character could not understand whether the cream really needed to be applied to the face. Judging by the way the lady applied it, everything was as it should be. Finally, the procedure ended, and the main character realized that he could exhale. Of course, he would happily sit here a little longer, but he is no longer going to endure such terrible pain. But for some strange reason, the girl didn't stop rubbing the cream into his face, and it was strange because he didn't have that much time to be here. But the lady with pink hair asks that if the main character doesn't like it, then she will stop rubbing cream on his face. The boy abruptly rose from the bed and could not understand what the girl was doing because the procedure had ended a long time ago. But she called herself a real pro and said that she knows best when the procedure should be completed, so let him sit and wait for the end of the procedure. Apparently, she is not going to let the guy out of the room just like that. It seems that she really is a pro, but only she is also crazy who tests her experiments on him in order to improve her work. Suddenly, she makes a very crazy face and says that now he will be her personal guinea pig, on which she will test new techniques to make people beautiful. Although the girl only recently opened her own business, today there will be promotions for the main character. All the experiments she will conduct will cost him completely free. The lady asked the main character not to worry and to close his eyes, because now she will remove his pimples and blackheads. But suddenly he just can't stand it and thinks that the girl is crazy. He starts yelling at her to let him go immediately, and she has no choice but to let him go. While the boy was quietly relaxing with the panda, the girl suddenly thanked him, but he did not understand why she was thanking him. But she decides to tell him that in fact it was much easier for her to work from, for the fact that the main character helped her during the procedure. She asked that the main character not think that she was crazy because she just wanted to improve her skills as a real master makeup artist. But the boy still didn't like that he had to be a guinea pig all the same. Elle and Ha-young tells him to wait until the cream is completely absorbed into his face, and then he can leave. The girl was amazed by her work and asked the main character to model for her Instagram page. She wants to show the result to her subscribers. And while the guy snatches the phone from her and shouts displeasedly, "We finished today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Like it for the speedy release of the new part."